Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskrityam
Narayanam Namaskrityam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Tato Jayamudiraye
Tado Jayamudiraye
Prayeshu Ya Bhadreshu
Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhagavati Uttama Sloke
Bhaktir Bhavatir Naishtakyam.
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiyam.
Thank you everyone for joining today. So today we are reading from chapter 12, which is titled as Devotional Service, and the verse number is 8. So I'll read the verse and you can repeat after me. Maya eva mana adhatsva.
Are you sharing the screen?
Oh, am I not?
No.
Sorry. Oh, I thought I was. Oh, sorry. Well, I somehow got out of, kicked me out of the meeting. I don't know. Okay. Share screen. Can you see the?
Yeah, we can see now, but not the verse.
Are you Prabhu? Can you make me like the co-host, like the other me, like you made
Okay.
the one without the JG?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah, now it's okay.
Yeah. Okay, I'll read the verse again. Maya eva mana adhatsva.
Mayeva mana adhatsva.
Mayi buddhim niveshaya.
Mayi buddhim niveshaya.
Nivashishyasi maya eva.
Nivasyashyasi mayeva.
Ata urdhavam na samshayah.
Pada urdhvam na samshayah.
Maya eva mana adhatsva.
Mayeva mana adhatsva.
Mayi buddhim niveshaya.
Mayi buddhim niveshaya.
Nivashishyasi maya eva.
Nivasyasya mayeva.
Ata urdhavam na samshayah.
Pada urdhvam na samshayah.
Mayeva eva mana adhatsva.
Mayeva mana adhatsva.
Mayi buddhim niveshaya.
Mayi buddhim niveshaya.
Nivashishyasi mayeva.
Nivasyasya mayeva.
Ata urdhavam na samshayah.
Pada urdhvam na samshayah.
Somebody can read it and we can repeat after him. Prabhuji, someone from the Prabhuji side.
Mayeva mana adhatsva. Mayi buddhim niveshaya.
Mayi buddhim niveshaya.
Nivaishyasi mayeva.
Nivasyasya mayeva.
Urdhvam na samshaya.
Pada urdhvam na samshayah.
Any Matajis?
Mayeva mana adhatsva.
मय्येव मन
आधत्स्व
मयि बुद्धिं निवेशय
मयि बुद्धिं निवेशय
निवसिष्यसि मय्येव
निवसिष्यसि मय्येव
अत ऊर्ध्वं न संशयः
ऊर्ध्वं न संशयः.
Thank you, Prabhuji, and thank you, Mataji. Now we'll read the word-for-word translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
My unto me, eva, certainly, mana, mind, adatsva,
fix
my upon me, buddhim, intelligence, niveshaya,
apply,
niveshishya,
nivesisya,
you lead,
you lead,
my unto me, eva, certainly, atha, therefore, urdhavam, up, na, never, samshaya, doubt. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Just fix your mind upon me.
Just fix
your mind upon me.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead.
the Supreme Personality
of Godhead.
And engage all your intelligence in me.
and engage your intelligence.
in me.
Thus you will live in me always.
Thus you will live
in
always
Always.
Without a doubt.
without doubt.
Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
One who is engaged in Lord Krishna's devotional service lives in direct relationship with the Supreme Lord. So there is no doubt his position is transcendental from the very beginning. A devotee does not live on the material plane. He lives in Krishna. The holy name of Krishna and the Lord are non-different. Therefore, when a devotee chants Hare Krishna, Krishna and his internal potency are dancing on the tongue of the devotee. When he offers Krishna food, Krishna directly accepts the eatables, and the devotee becomes Krishnized by eating the remnants. One who does not engage in such service cannot understand how this is so. Also, although this is a process recommended in the Gita and other Vedic scriptures. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnana-anjana-shalakya Chakshurun-militam yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Sthapitam yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganatam Sajivam Savadutam Sa Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Shri Dhanatam. Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhatamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Shivanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpataru Nischa Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Thank you everyone again for joining in. So this is like this chapter is like from devotional service. And the chapter starts with Arjuna asking Krishna a question. Like, the question is the first verse of the chapter. He asks him, like, what is better to perform to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead and in His personal form, or to worship the impersonal form. Like the verses, Arjuna inquired, what is considered more perfect? Those who always properly engage in devotional service, or those who worship impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested? So straight away, Krishna replies, like the answer straight away he gives is like, those who fix their mind on my personal form and always engage in worshiping me with great and transcendental faith are considered by me to be the most perfect. But then he goes to say, in the next couple of verses, he goes to say, like, he says, like, those who worship the impersonal form, ultimately they achieve me. That's verse 5 and verse 6 and 7. But the problem is, like, it is very troublesome. Like in verse 5, he says, like, he uses the word klesho and dukkham. So klesho and dukkham, Srila Prabhupada translates both as troublesome. Like, for those minds who are attached to the unmanifested impersonal feature of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome. To make progress in that discipline is always difficult for those who are embodied. So, I mean, for people have got bodies, like, it is very troublesome and it's very difficult to make progress in worshiping the impersonal form. But Srila, in the verse before this, Srila Prabhupada in 6 and 7, he says, but those who worship me, giving up all their activities unto me and being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service and always meditating upon me, having fixed their minds upon me, O son of Krita, for them I'm the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. So this was the last yesterday's verse. So you can see that, like, the main difference is, like, when somebody is concentrating on, the Paramatma, or somebody is concentrating on the impersonal form. The idea is to become like, I am equal to God and I want to become one with God. So the focus there is on Atma, on myself. And then eventually, when you get and after a lot of what is that word, Bhavan Janmanta, like after many births, one realizes, so finally he realizes and becomes one with Krishna. What happens there? He just merges into the supreme effulgence of Krishna, and there what happens? There is nothing really to do. There's nothing to do. There's nothing to think about. There is no talking. There's nothing. And somebody described the only Anand there is the name, in the name Anand. And that's probably the reason, because if you look at all the Brahmavadi sannyasis and all, they have their name Anand attached to the end of it, So, like, if you take the order of what is that in the Ramakrishna mission? I mean, sorry for taking names. All the sannyasis, they have the name Anand to the end of it, attached to the end of it. So, so the only Anand they have is in their names. So eventually, Srila Prabhupada says that what happens is that they just fall down because there's no activity, and they fall down, and then what do they become? They become like philanthropists and all that. That's what happens to people who end up concentrating on the Brahmavad, or actually there's Buddhism is actually like Lord Buddha preached Shunyavad, or Nirvana, where you actually go into nothingness, and Shankaracharya propagated Brahmavad, Brahman, merging into Brahman. At the end of the day, they're both two different sides of the same coin, because ultimately you fall down. There's no joy in it. the joy of like Krishna describes, like in the previous verse, just engage all your intelligence on me. Just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus, you'll always live in me, always, without a doubt. And how does that happen? Like if we concentrate on Krishna and we involve, we start serving Krishna, then what happens? Then there is joy. What we get, we find joy, and joy comes. And we can see that, like in our normal life, if there is some person we like, for example, our children or our parents or our husbands or wives or whatever. When we love them and we do a little bit of service for them, and when they appreciate it, we feel happy. So that we can experience that even in the material world in a little way. But one thing, our husbands, our wives, our children, all of them are like temporary. They just, at the end of, they'll all be taken away from us. But instead of like focusing on that, if we just focus on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, our eternal Father, who's like always who's going to be our Father, then that at one point, like that, the joy is that love is reciprocated, and the joy is like we feel the actual joy. So in the purport to the previous chapter, it's like Srila Prabhupada says, the devotees are very fortunate to be delivered very soon from material existence by the Lord. The pure devotional service comes from the realization God is great and individual soul is subordinate to him. So we need to have that understanding, like we are subordinate. Then once we have that understanding that we are subordinate, then we'll serve. If we have that feeling that like we are not subordinate or we are equal to God, then the feeling of service is not there. Then the ego, it's more like the ego. So and in that case, like you end up like the yogis do Ashtanga yoga. It's like it's such a tedious process. Srila Prabhupada says, like it's like climbing up steps. But like devotional service is like going up the elevator, very easy. And in the same purport, Srila Prabhupada says, like yogis, they use their siddhis or whatever they gain to travel to different planets, to go to Vaikuntha planets or wherever. But for devotees, the Lord himself will come on his Garuda and take us away to the planet, like the planet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Like, and again, Srila Prabhupada said, as I just mentioned, a child is completely cared for by his parents, and thus his position is secure. Similarly, devotee does not need to endeavor to transfer himself by yoga practice to other planets. Rather, Supreme Lord, by his great mercy, comes riding on his bird carrier, Garuda, and at once delivers a devotee from material existence. It's just like, and again, he describes like, if a person like falls into an ocean, no matter how much you try to swim, there is there's no way he might be an expert in swimming, but unless he gets help or somebody comes with a boat and picks him up, he cannot come on. Similarly, our material, the material creation or the samsara sagar is like that, where if you're fallen down, you definitely need God's help or Krishna's help to come out of it. And the only way you can do it is by surrendering to him. If you don't surrender, then there is no way you can attain him. So the better we understand this, like Krishna is supreme and we're subordinate, and we start serving him, it is in our benefit. Like and once we start serving him, then we realize like everything, all we need is to focus on Krishna. So once once we start focusing on him and we put him in the center of our lives, then all our activities, we might be continuing the same activities as before, but all that activity is like, we're just thinking of Krishna, we're serving, the idea is to serve Krishna. So all our activities in our life will be like directed, will become like devotional service. So the act of like, like going to work, doing our groceries, even washing our clothes, because all this is done to please Krishna. Like groceries, we're getting to make prasadam. Washing our clothes is because we have to clean. We go in Krishna in clean clothes. What else? Even exercising, like going to the gym or something, becomes a devotional activity because we want to like be healthy. And the reason we want to be healthy is that we are healthy enough to serve Krishna. We cannot, if you're sick, we'll have the excuse, oh, come on, I'm sick. I cannot like attend the temple program, or I cannot do any kind of devotional service. I'm not focused enough to chant. If you're sick, so it's in our own interest to keep ourselves healthy. So everything we do, like in our normal course of life, we just have to focus we just have to shift our mentality and we have to see things in a different perspective. So once that happens, we'll be like, Krishna is in the center, and once that happens, he takes care of us. We don't have to like really worry about becoming. We don't have to worry about like achieving too much materially, or achieving a lot of striving too much or endeavoring too much for anything. The endeavor should only be to be pleasing Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada says it's very simple, just chant, take prasadam, dance, and then go back to Godhead. That's all we need to do. And Srila Prabhupada has actually set up this in ISKCON system in such a way, like, it's very easy to perform devotional service. Like we get up in the morning. If you just follow what Srila Prabhupada has set up for us in our society, it becomes very easy to focus completely on Krishna. So like we can see that the first thing we need to do is get up for Mangalarti. Then once we are done with Mangalarti, do our around 16 rounds. Then we read from the Bhagavatam. Then after once Bhagavatam is over, then we go for our work. And the work we do is there again to earn Lakshmi or whatever. And that Lakshmi is used for the purpose of serving Krishna. We bring up our children. We earn Lakshmi to bring up our children. That is again done to serve Krishna. Like we bring up our children in a very Krishna conscious way. So, and when we bring up our children in a Krishna conscious way, our own consciousness is also like, our realization is getting better and better. And then in the evening, like Srila Prabhupada says, read the Bhagavad Gita before you go to sleep. So again, like there is like the Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita reading and other like Srila Prabhupada's books are actually the theory. And other things we do in daily life are actually the practical. So everything has a theory side and a practical side. So the practical side is actually doing actual devotional service, like service in the temple or chanting or distributing books, Srila Prabhupada's books, trying to get other people to follow, this, bringing them back to Krishna. So those are like the practical side. But actually reading Srila Prabhupada's books is actually the theory part of it. So those are the things we need to concentrate on. And like in the purport, again, Srila Prabhupada, he calls from the Narayanian actually here. And he says, Yavai sadhana sampati purusha tachatustaya taya vinatad apnuti narayana ashraya. Like, just like I mentioned, like one should not engage in process of fruitive activities or cultivate knowledge by mental speculative process. We know the story of like, somebody who tries to cultivate a lot of material knowledge. Like, Srila Prabhupada told us the story of the like the very learned professor and the boatman. So the boatman is going, he's traveling on a boat, and then there is the storm. I mean, before in the story, before the storm comes, the educated person or the professor is actually trying to explain to the boatman different things, but the boatman who's not very educated has no idea what this professor is talking about. The professor talks about like how the boat is floating in water, the science behind the boat floating in water. Then he sees the lightning. He says, then he tries to explain to him the signs of lightning. But then there's a storm, and then the boatman asks him. Boatman asks him like, "Oh, professor, can you swim? Because there's a flood and the boat is like filled with water." So the boatman is able to swim, but the professor, like, who has no idea, he doesn't know how to swim. Ultimately, he gets washed away, while the boatman swims to safety. So that's the thing. All this too much of knowledge we may cultivate, but if you don't cultivate the signs of Krishna consciousness, Krishna is useless. Similarly, like material endeavors do not actually lead us to anything. Material endeavors, we might think, okay, we'll achieve just this much. We'll just get this $1 million, and then we'll start. I'll be satisfied. But it's never like that. Once you get the $1 million, then you start thinking, okay, why not get 1 point? Let me get another 500,000. So it's like Srila Prabhupada again describes this material, trying. It's like a quicksand. So once you go into it, you start moving in it. It's like you get sucked deeper and deeper. So if you try to achieve too much materially, it just sucks you in, and it's very difficult to come out unless somebody gives you a rope, and then you can pull out yourself. And that rope is like, Srila Prabhupada's books, or somebody giving you like a Bhagavad Gita. That's the rope. So if you pick up the rope and pull it up, then you can pull out yourself. Otherwise, you're just going to be stuck in that in the quagmire or whatever you call it. So there's no need to strive too much from material knowledge or like scientific knowledge. Like we all have heard of this scientist called, what is that, Stephen Hawkins or something. So ultimately he was very knowledgeable, but ultimately like he came to the view there is no God. Like he was just like all his material education, it just what happened? It just he was so confused that it just he got that impression there is no God. Haribol, Prabhu? Now in this purport to the verse, Srila Prabhupada says, one who is engaged in Krishna's devotional life lives in a direct relationship with Supreme Lord. So there is no doubt his position is transcendental from the very beginning. A devotee does not live on the material plane. He lives in Krishna. So what does that mean? Like, he lives in Krishna. How can you live in Krishna? Like, we have very often we have heard the term like, home is where the heart is. Like, home is where the heart is. So like the heart is like heart is like what do you call home is where the heart is. So like if Krishna is in our heart, that's our home. Like if Krishna is in our heart, then everything we do will be focused on Krishna. Everything will be focused on Krishna. And like in the chapter where Krishna shows his universal form to Arjuna describes Krishna as Param Dhama, or ultimate abode, or our ultimate home, Krishna. And one thing we need to understand is like it doesn't really mean like we are in physically in Golok Vaikunth, Golok Vrindavan. If we are like fully surrendered to Krishna, like and Krishna is all in our minds, we can be here and we can be in Golok Vrindavan. Like the 6 Goswamis, they didn't care for liberation, they didn't care for any mukti or moksha or anything. all they cared was for the loving. They just wanted to have that heart filled with loving devotional service to Krishna. And there's another story of like Rikasura. He was cursed to be a demon by goddess Parvati, but he didn't care because all he wanted was like wherever he was, even if he was in a demon form, he just wanted to be serving the Lord in whatever form he was. So that's like loving devotional service. So we are living our hearts. We're living in Krishna. That's what it is, like living in Krishna. And then Srila Prabhupada here is like in this chapter, in the further he says in this purport, like when we chant, the Lord is actually dancing on our lips. Like in Kali Yuga, Kali Yuga, like Lord manifests in his name, and his name, and the Lord being absolute, his name is not different from his himself. So the name, form, his paraphernalia, everything is as good as the Lord himself. So when we chant name of the Lord is with us. We we don't really have to go and try to look for him anywhere. Like we could be anywhere. We could be chanting in the toilet anywhere. But when you're chanting, God is with us. I mean, of course, we're respectful to sit and chant but there's nothing wrong that we have this example of Bhakti Tirtha Swami. Like when he was in East Germany, he would sit and chant in the toilets because he didn't want to be caught by the secret police in communist East Germany. So he would sit and chant in the toilet. So we have that example. The thing is, again, like Srila Prabhupada says, when a devotee offers Krishna food, Krishna accepts these eatables, and the devotee becomes Krishnized by eating the remnants. So actually, that's the most important thing. One of the most important things, like for devotees to do, is try to always eat Krishna prasadam. So when we offer Krishna prasadam, if you offer it with love, patram pushpam phalam toyam ome bhakta prayachati, like if it is offered with love, Krishna will eat it. I mean, we don't see Krishna eating it because he can do many things, just with his eyes, he can eat it. And if it is offered with love. So when it is whatever, he's so kind enough to leave everything for us back. He eats it at the same time, like everything is left on the plate for us to receive his mercy. Prasadam means mercy. So when we partake in his mercy, what happens? We become Krishnized. Srila Prabhupada says Krishnized. So Krishnized means like our consciousness gets even more. It gets even better. Like we become even more Krishna conscious, and somehow, and it's very difficult to make the non-devotees understand this concept. But eventually, if somebody is given Krishna prasadam, even unknowingly, you can see the change in them. Like if somebody's been eating Krishna prasadam, just give them, eventually they develop a little bit of soft corner for Krishna, and they end up coming to the temple and all that. And there is this practical there is a real example where Srila Prabhupada himself was like feeding, cooking and feeding all these hippies who would come to do kirtan with him. He was giving them prasadam, and then the process of just chanting with Srila Prabhupada and then eating Krishna prasadam purified them, and they became like his earliest disciples, all the hippies. So we can see that right there. So we see how having Krishna in our how serving Krishna is how serving Krishna gives us this. But just by serving Krishna, our consciousness changes so much that we start having initially we might not like it's like going to a doctor. Initially, when you go to a doctor, he gives you a medicine. We have some faith in the doctor, so we start taking the medicine, and then we became cured from our disease. Similarly, we have some faith in Srila Prabhupada, and Krishna. So we start following the teachings of Srila Prabhupada, preferably under the guidance of our spiritual master. And a spiritual master is like the doctor. So, and when we follow his instructions, we can see that Krishna consciousness is developing, our love for Krishna, getting better and better. So, and at that point, like Krishna is actually, once we get to that point where, we find chanting very joyful, we find doing devotional service very joyful, we find everything in our lives, whatever is very joyful. There is nothing, nothing worrying us. Now someone might ask you, like, what is the purpose of doing all this? The purpose of doing all this is just to keep doing it. Like somebody asked, what's the purpose of chanting? Somebody asked Srila Prabhupada, so that we can chant even more. So the purpose of devotional service is to, initially it might seem a little troublesome and all that, but once it is achieved, the joy you get is like, many of us have, in a little, we have experienced it in our own lives, and I'm sure everyone has. So we can see what Krishna is saying here is actually attainable, or we can realize it. That's what they call like signs of self-realization. Like we realize it. It's something. It is already there. The only thing is we need to realize it. The science is true. We just need to realize it, and we can follow Srila Prabhupada, and we can continue to do devotional service, chanting, serving in the temple, distributing books. So then the realization comes, and then that's actually where Krishna is actually delivering us from, as I mentioned in the previous, delivering us from the ocean of birth and death. Because delivering from the ocean of birth and death does not mean like we don't die, but we just don't care. All we care is about our service to Krishna, our love for Krishna, which is there. So that's all that matters. We don't care about anything else. So I'll kind of stop here, and then we can discuss more questions. Any questions we have? Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Thank you, Guruji.
Very cool.
Class, thank you so much. The devotees, have any questions, comments, or concerns, or at least say something, some comments? Please go ahead if you have anything.
Hare Krishna, Subala Prabhu. Please accept my humble
Hare Krishna,
obeisance.
Prabhuji.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
All
Thank
glories
you,
to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to you, Prabhuji.
That embarrasses me. But
No,
Prabhu,
sorry.
I really liked your class. Very straightforward, very easy to understand. And what I specifically liked was that example you gave of the professor who keeps ridiculing the boatman. Do you know this? Do you know that? And he's giving all the scientific explanations for this and that. But what really matters, if you're taking a boat, you must know swimming at the very least. And he didn't know that, so his life was totally useless. Now, we can understand from this analogy, Prabhu, is that, yes, we are in this material ocean, so we should know swimming, which is bhakti. It helps us get across. And I think it's in Chaitanya Charitamrita, right, where it says this entire ocean is like a little calf's hoof print. You can just easily cross over for a devotee. But at the same time, Prabhu, in the practical living, we see that science is not really discarded. We use science. So that principle of using everything in service of Krishna, Yukta Vairagya, is also very important. So the fact is we are talking today and meeting is because of science, the internet and the cell phone and whatever else it is. So the proper use of thing in Yukta Vairagya, then science also gets completed rather than just remaining incomplete. So these are all the thoughts I was having, and I thought I'd share it with you and everybody. Thank you, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, like, can I just say something like about that?
Of course.
I mean, I get this. I have this. I've thought about it. Like, okay, what if this? We didn't have this modern technology and all that. We wouldn't be. We wouldn't be like doing this thing, right? Like, we wouldn't be able to have this class via Zoom and all that. But there are like, no matter what happens, there will be people in Rajogun who will be developing these things. I'm sure, like 15 years. Maybe like in 50 years or something, we might be projecting ourselves and like some kind of 3D, and we might be having virtually, we might all be sitting in one room and having a class, it's possible. So, there are this research being done in that direction and all that. So all these things will happen no matter what. But as devotees, what we should do is whatever comes across our way, we should try to use it in Krishna service. I mean, as devotees, we don't really have to strive to do those things because that's going to happen anyway. Because we're just going to be like, we might just get lost in that, right? We might just get like, completely like, completely into it, and our focus might be on those things. Whereas our focus should be on Krishna. So those things will happen because it's Krishna's plan. So those things happen anyway. So, I mean, we can use it as in service of Krishna, but as devotees ourselves, we shouldn't make so much endeavor to like, I mean, because sometimes there are a lot of devotee scientists I know, but but even then, their focus also should be to please Krishna or to serve Krishna, and whatever their discoveries or whatever is they're doing should be like to serve Krishna. Like, what's that Maharaj name from Manipur? He was a scientist, but he was using all his knowledge to propagate Krishna consciousness. So I forgot that Maharaj's name.
Vatsarup Swami Maharaj.
Yes. Yeah. Is that okay, Prabhu? What I said, does it make sense?
Yeah, Prabhu. Very good point. Not to get caught up. It'll happen automatically. Maharaj's name is Swarup
Damodar.
Swarup Damodar Swami.
Yes. Like, if you think about it, like our Bhakti Chara Swami, Gopal Krishna Swami, they're all like engineers. Like, they're all like very educated and very.
Yeah. The idea is to use it, Krishna-ize it.
And we have all this Govind Prabhu and Gauranga Prabhu, all from IIT, like Radhesham Prabhu, who came here a few weeks ago.
Hare Krishna. Thanks, Prabhu. Thanks for that.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah. Anything else? Anybody else has anything to add? Any other comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam always to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So here, like in this verse, right, like Krishna says that we need to fix both our mind and intelligence.
Yes.
Krishna says, fix mind and intelligence in me. So I was just thinking about it, like, so I mean, since intelligence is greater than the mind, so automatically, if the intelligence is engaged in Krishna, isn't
Yes.
it that automatically the mind would also be controlled? Was there any specific thing that we are being told here by why Krishna is stressing both, like the mind and intelligence?
Well, in the purport, like Srila Prabhupada doesn't speak about about that intelligence and all, but yeah, but what you think is probably is very correct. Like the mind is controlled by the intelligence, and so if the intelligence is engaged in Krishna, it will the mind is also engaged in Krishna, and the mind controls the senses. The mind should control the senses that way. So the senses are also controlled. This the sense of touch, the sense of eating, the sense of smelling, the sense of hearing. All these are controlled, like controlled in the sense we use them for in Krishna serving, like Ambarish Maharaj. He used his tongue for eating Krishna prasadam. He used his legs to walk to the temple of the Lord. His sense of smell was used to smell the flowers and to tulsi offered to the Supreme Lord. Hearing was to hear like the glories of the Supreme Lord. Sense of touch was used to like embrace devotees of the Lord, that kind of thing. So that's probably, I mean, it's not explained specifically in this purport, but Srila Prabhupada has explained it elsewhere. So about how to use the senses. So when we do these things, our senses are purified, and when senses are purified, our consciousness becomes even like better. So you're right about that, using this intelligence. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for bringing that out.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. Yeah, I was just trying to think in a way, right? Like, if can there be any case, like, where the intelligence is in Krishna, but mind is still taking away from, like, I'm just trying to think, maybe like.
Yeah, it is possible. You read all those books and everything of about Krishna, and it's true, but then the senses are so strong, they lead you away. You might be reading Srila Prabhupada's books and all that, but then your senses are so bad that you might still be going to a bar and all that and sitting in a bar. It's possible. It is, but so that's the thing. The thing is, like, we have this theoretical knowledge, but we need to apply it practically. That's like performing devotional service. We have to start devotional service somewhere, and only then, once that is done, then we start following the 4 regulative principles, and then start chanting what Srila Prabhupada said. Then the mind will slowly come under control. There's a song, right? Bhajahure mana Srinanda Nandan, and that's when to beat the mind like million times, and in that bhajan, like I don't remember the exact words. Simesha Prabhu, Bhajahure mana Srinanda Nandan. That there's something about the beating the mind. So we have to beat our mind.
Abhayacharanara Vindari.
Yeah. So,
Okay, yeah, thank you, Prabhuji.
thank you, Mataji.
Haribol, is this Gunjan Saxena Mataji?
Gunjan Gangwani, Prabhuji.
Oh, your mother's mummy?
Yes, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam to you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Mataji, this mind intelligence Prabhu explained so nicely, no? And you can see it in your own home with Madhav. So Madhav is being raised in a Krishna conscious environment. On Rath Yatra day, he was with your husband, and I called him and I said, Madhav, have you finished your rounds? He said, yes. I said, how many rounds do you do? So he raised 4 fingers in the air and he said, I do 4 rounds. I said, very good. I do 3 rounds. He pointed 4 fingers in the air and said, I do 3 rounds. That's okay. He's a little child. 4 and 3 में उसका थोड़ा confusion हो गया. So he said,
Prabhuji, are you talking about this Madhav or some other Madhav?
your son. He was with Vikas.
He does not chant, Prabhuji.
That's okay. That's I'm coming to that.
Okay,
So I said, very nice. You chant rounds. When do you chant? No. Then I said, it's very nice. So he called me towards him and I bent down and he's telling me softly, I get up early morning and chant. Now this is what, I don't know how old he is, 4, 5 years or however old he is. Now, yes, I can understand he may not be chanting, but just look at what the mind is thinking about. So he hears his parents. He sees his parents chanting. He sees, oh, I have to finish my rounds. Oh, I have to get up in the morning and chant and all these things. So when his intellect develops a little more, it's going to be spontaneous for this child. It won't be an extra effort. So the mind is always thinking, feeling, willing. And the environment is created for Madhav as such that he'll only think of things like chanting, getting up in the morning, all things devotional, because that's the environment. And that's how his intelligence, so for him to decide what is right, what is wrong, it's going to be an automatic process. So I was very touched and impressed by this little child of how spontaneous they are. Hare Krishna. And thank you for raising a child in a Krishna conscious environment. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. I think it's just with the, like, all your, Vaishnavas Devotees Association that's having an impact on him. So that's why he is, mostly talking about maybe what you heard in that conversation. That's why he's talking about. It's just not actually me. It's a combined, like as you said, the environment, right? Like it's all like the association of the devotees, like coming to the temple, listening to the aarti, everything impacts, Prabhuji. And you rightly said, like the kind of environment it is surrounding us, depending on that, like our mind and intelligence just acts according to that, because that is what we are seeing around us. That is what the senses are being exposed to. So yeah, Prabhuji, very, very nicely answered, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji, Mataji, just one more thing I want to add to that. You just made a very valid point. Like for devotional service, that association is also very important. Like if you're just trying to stay ourselves and try to do, we won't get very far. But when we have other devotees around us doing the same thing and we get support from them, it happens very nicely. So the idea of this association or the community is very important. Like, so we can help each other.
Correct, Prabhuji. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, or anything?
Yeah, we have still some more time. Anybody has anything to add? Anything else? Please go ahead. Any doubts? Any clarifications? Okay, in fact, this Friday is Ekadashi. This is a reminder. It's a Yogini Ekadashi. And next Friday, is our Rath Yatra, temple Rath Yatra. That's also an actual day Rath Yatra at Puri, and we celebrate at our temple as well. July 2nd is Atlantic City Rath Yatra, so don't miss that. So please join. Nothing else anybody would like to add?
Prabhu, I have an announcement.
Oh yeah, please go ahead, Praj.
Prabhu's Mataji's humble request. Rath Yatra is coming. We have one on Friday, Prabhu said, and next Saturday. That's just 1 week away. And a lot of things need to be done. So before Rath Yatra, Mahaprabhu himself showed the example of cleaning the Gundicha Marjan, the Gundicha Mandir, where the Rath goes to from Lord Jagannath leaves his abode and goes to Gundicha temple. So Mahaprabhu and the devotees and Mahaprabhu personally cleaned the entire temple. So we're doing that for our temple here on Sunday. So usually devotees come by 5 o'clock. If you all can come a little early, couple of hours, then we can nicely clean our temple. So there will be many services, and if you can let me know when you can come at what time, it'll really be helpful. We need all your help, and that will really help. And of course, what better service to do for Srila Prabhupada and Lord Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadramai. So you have my numbers. You can write me or call me, or if you'd like to commit to helping out and commit to a time when you can come. Ideally, everyone comes at 1. It's great. So you can let me know. Thank you, Prabhu's Mataji, for that. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Praj. Also, we are planning a Nagara Sankirtan on this Saturday. So please join before Rath Yatra. Also, this is our opportunity, the summertime. We can go out and talk about Krishna, chant the holy name. Hari Dikku Tarikahu Krishna Upadesh. Whomever you meet, just talk about Krishna. So this way, many people will get benefit. So it's as is mentioned yesterday, we always should ask this question: what can I do for you, Krishna? What can I do for? How can I serve? Please engage me in your service. So this way, we all can please Krishna. It's not for us; it's for to please Krishna. So we'll send the details out, timing and all, and location as well. So yeah, location we'll find out. Mataji, Tilila Garangi Mataji is asking location. I mean, we'll discuss that tomorrow. The location, the right or appropriate location, so devotees can join. And
Thank you, Prabhuji.
yeah, we'll discuss tomorrow what's the exact locations. And, the bus locations. Okay. So anything else? Anybody else would like to add? Okay. Otherwise, let's conclude today's session. Nothing else. Vancha kalpatarupasya krapa sindhu Adidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo
Namaha.
Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Granth Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananda Kodi Vaishnavrinda ki jai.
Jai.
Gaura Premanande Hari Hari.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Srila
Prabhuji.
Prabhu.
Thank you,
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji. Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everybody.
Krishna.